Well, for more analysis, I'm joined here in the studio by Alice EKMAN, who is the head of China research at the French think tank IFRI, which is the French Institute of International Relations. Thank you very much indeed for coming to see us. Your think tank has just published a paper on this Belt and Road project, and we can see an extract of that paper there on our screens. And one of the points you make in that article is that there's a lot of enthusiasm about this whole project in China, but then there's also a huge amount of ambiguity. What's the point you're trying to make here? What's not clear for you?
A huge amount of ambiguity because the project is constantly evolving. You know, initially we thought it would be about transport infrastructure focused in Eurasia. Now it appears that the geographical scope is far beyond the historical, Silk Road. Africa is involved, the Arctic is involved, Latin America is involved by project under the Belt and Road label. And also in terms of sectorial cooperation, it's not just about infrastructure, it's also about norms and standards, it's also about institutions, it's also about custom cooperation, it's also about exchanges between political parties. So basically what appears today, 6 years after the project has been launched, is that it is a sticker, a label that China is pasting on a diversity of priorities. And overall, it's a new form of globalization, a new form of global governance that China is proposing today. So that's quite interesting at a time when China and US tensions are particularly high. Is China proposing a new global architecture? For instance, this forum that is taking place today potentially in a few years' time may compete with other key multilateral summits of reference, such as the G20, the BRICS summits, or others. So is China under this label trying to build an alternative place for bilateral, regional, multilateral summits? That's quite interesting to underline today.
Yeah, and you talk about the scope of it. I mean, something like 130 countries and international organizations are going to be touched by this initiative. And I think it's fair to say, isn't it, that not everyone is comfortable with this, and for some of the reasons you just gave. Who is the most uncomfortable, do you think? Who's the most concerned about this project, and why do you think that is?
Clearly, India has been the most vocal in officially rejecting the project. And 2 years ago, in the first edition of this summit, India refused to participate and explained publicly why it is considering that the Chinese project of the Belt and Road is not sustainable, why it's exacerbating tension due to a project in Pakistan, etc., etc. But today, of course, the US, which is not present, not participating to the forum, and other US allies are quite vocal in criticizing what they call the debt trap, for instance, the case of a project in Sri Lanka. So they are quite directly communicating and underlining the weaknesses as perceived from their perspective of the Chinese project. Overall, we are seeing a bipolarization of two groups of countries who are clearly supporting Chinese initiative and who are present at the forum, and countries who are not supporting Chinese initiative and who have closer ties with the US and its allies. So all in all, what we are seeing now is Xi Jinping's attempt to reinforce to enlarge China's circle of friends. But at the same time, China is saying that the Belt and Road and its project is welcome to anyone, including US allies. So we are really witnessing a blurred bipolarization now of global governance, of key forums, and of the world architecture. It's not a Cold War-like bipolarization, because there is some ambiguity, because you can be a US ally and you can also be a friend of China today. But all in all, it's quite a bipolarization that we are witnessing at a time of reinforced China-US rivalry.
Yeah, okay, so this theme of ambiguity recurs again in this context.
Exactly.
Just what form a more bipolar world will take. Just my last question to you, I mean, just what are your thoughts? I mean, why is China doing this? What's it trying to achieve, do you think? What are its goals? Is it purely about trade, or is it more about exerting influence internationally, or both?
It's about, institutional influence. For about a decade, China is investing in institutions, considering that the current institutional framework has been shaped by countries that are not China, that has been shaped without China. It's time for China to reshape the way the world is organized, the way summits take place, which summits are taking place, and under which agenda. So it's really about, I think, global governance institutions.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed
for
sharing that with us. Alice EKMAN, head of China research at the French think tank IFRI. Thank you so much.
Thank you.